Hey guys, it's Melissa here from melissaoatman.com. I wanted to jump on today and pull some messages for you. But before I get started, I wanted to talk to you about grief. So those of you who have lost someone recently, or it doesn't have to be recently, grief doesn't have an expiration date. We can go through grief. And in fact, when we lose someone important, I believe that we can grieve for years and years and years, for the rest of our lives, that we have to live without that person. And one of the things that is important to understand is that whatever you're feeling about the grief is perfectly okay. One of the stages we go through is anger, and that can be a pretty tough emotion to work through. I talk about in my book, we lost my mom to pancreatic cancer, and one of the difficulties of that was watching her have to go through chemo and radiation and to suffer because it was horrible. Like, chemo is so bad on your body. You're pumping your body full of poison. And I still don't understand why that's our best option. I'm not a medical professional by any means, but just seeing what it did to her, I don't understand why that's our treatment of cancer still. Like, they haven't come up with something that's more gentle and more humane on human beings, because it's horrible to watch someone you love have to go through that. And I have a chapter where I talk about that, where for the longest time I felt angry because I feel like the treatment that she received for her cancer was worse for her than the actual cancer. And she spent a great deal of her time suffering because of it. So if you're dealing with anger, know that you're not alone, and it's okay to feel that way. We can't stay in a place of anger, and that's where I think some people differ. You know, they don't feel like you should be angry. And I talk about this too. Some people don't feel like you should be angry with God. Well, you're human. That's going to happen. You're going to have that inclination to be mad and to be angry. It doesn't make you a bad person. God's not going to disown you or never speak to you again because you got mad. You're a human being, and that is one of the first emotions that comes up sometimes, especially if the death was unexpected, or if it was like in my mom's case where you had to watch someone lingering on and it was suffering. We have to work through those emotions in order to process them and get through them. So it's okay to be angry, and it's even okay to be angry at your higher power, whatever you want to call it, God. We just can't stay that way. We have to process that anger. And in my book, I talk about several ways that you can process that anger. And the book that I wrote, by the way, because I realized I hadn't mentioned it, is Beautiful Mourning. It's Mourning, Beautiful Mourning, A Guide to Life After Loss. And it's available on Amazon. And I take you through the different stages of grief. Excuse me. And I talk about how to process each stage, what it looks like, and how you process it. Because the important thing about grief is, even though there's no time limit for grief, there's no expiration date, you're probably going to grieve for as long as you're living here without that person, you can get through it with grace and ease. You can move forward. You can still live a very full life, but you have to be able to process. We can't be stuck in that process of grief. And sometimes people get stuck there. And that's the important thing about moving forward. It's not because you're leaving that person behind. It's because you still have to live a beautiful and amazing life, and you still can. And my book hopefully will help you to realize that you can still live an amazing life and have beautiful memories. And it's worth it to move forward just so you feel a little better. And again, I give you tools and tips to show you how to work through that grief. So I thought today I would pull some cards from my Talking to Heaven deck by James Van Praagh. So if you have lost a loved one recently and you would like some messages, I just ask you to take a moment and just lovingly think of that person in your mind. And we're going to pull some messages from this deck, but then I'm also going to pull some messages from Angela Rose's deck to give you some tips for what's the next step, how do we move on. All right, so think of the person and we're going to get these messages. All right. So the first one is don't be afraid. That's the interesting thing about death, isn't it? Sometimes it scares us. Like someone else's death reminds us that, hey, we're going to die one day too. And sometimes that brings fear in us, or we might be afraid that we're going to lose someone we love too. I know when my cousin died at a young age, it terrified me because I thought, oh, if he can die young, so can my sister, so can my brothers, you know. And I wasn't worried about myself, but I was worried about losing other people. But this is don't be afraid. When you live in fear, you're not truly living. And we have I am not dead. So your loved one wants you to know death is an illusion because the person doesn't just go nowhere. You know, it's not just the end. It's more like a graduation. They move to the next level. And I try to help you to see that in my book, that death isn't really what we think it is. You're moving on and transitioning to a higher level where it's just based in love, the next level. And it's a good thing. And I'm with the rest of the family, where you have your family members who greet you. We travel in soul families, and they're there to greet you when you move on. And you have, I am so much better now. Yeah, that's the thing. Even though we miss them immensely, they would not want to come back here even if they could, because where they are is so much more beautiful. I'm here helping you. So your loved one is still very much with you. On the other side now, they are acting as a guide to try to help you in life. My death was painless. Please don't worry or hold on to guilt. So again, and I had to do the same thing in the case of my mom. I felt a lot of guilt after her death because of how much she suffered. They're telling you to let that go. It's important to let that go. It was painless. Even if they were going through pain while they were here, once you get to the other side, they don't remember that. That suffering is a human condition. On the other side, you don't have that. I have no more earthly worries. Yeah. Where they are is beautiful. And we grieve for them because we miss them, but they don't grieve for us because they're still very much with us. They don't have any earthly worries. It's so much lighter and freer. I've been told by someone who had a near-death experience, it's like stepping out of clothes that didn't fit. You just feel so free when you get to the other side. All right, and I hope that that was able to comfort you in some way. I'm going to pull some cards from Angel Rose's deck to see what does the universe want you to do right now and to focus on. All right, so the first thing is meet the universe halfway. Are you willing to say yes to your best life? Are you willing to put down excuses? It may feel uncomfortable doing something unknown. It is so worth it. Trust the unseen. There is something magical waiting for you to say yes so it can show up for you. When you meet the universe halfway, it will support you and fill the other half. Do not worry about the hows. Leave that for the universe. Take a risk and take one small step in the direction of your dreams. The mantra that goes with this card is courage is bravery. There is magic in the unknown. I love that. So your message from your loved one and the universe is to live your best life. Take a step towards living your best life. What can you do? And then you have be bold. Stand in your power. Your time to shine is now. It has to start with you. Now is your time to take your life in your hands and be who you are ready to step into. Who is the person you want to be? Show up as her or him now. How does the person you want to be show up in your life? Create a vision board or journal of how you want your life to be, and now show up as that person. The mantra that goes with this card is, today I stand confidently and boldly in my power. I love that. All right, so the universe and your loved one wants you to be bold, stand in your power, move forward, and live a life you love, because you have beautiful things on the other side when you do. There's still so much life out there. You're still needed. And if you are having trouble or struggling as you're going through grief, again, my book, Beautiful Mourning, is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and also Apple Books. The audiobook will be dropping soon. Hopefully it's recorded, and Audible is reviewing it. I hope that you find so much healing. There's so much life left to live. If you want to work with me, you can go to my website, melissaoatman.com. Have a beautiful day.